John the Baptist has been executed by Herod Antipas, and perhaps that's a bit of a reminder that some people have paid the ultimate price for trying to be true to Christ and follow him. And we can think of people in our own time and age, people like Oscar Romero in Latin America, or the Anglican Archbishop of Kampala, Yanani Luam, who was killed in 1977, was executed in 1977, or the Melanesian brothers in the Solomon Islands a decade or so ago. But we don't want to focus too much on the ultimate cost of Christ's call to anyone. Here in Australia, it's highly unlikely that any of us will have to pay the ultimate cost for following Christ. In fact, I think we should perhaps look at the great privilege it is to follow Christ. I think one of the great privileges of being called into ordained leadership is the way in which clergy are invited into all the most telling moments of another person's life. Moments of great happiness, like the birth of a child or the wedding of a couple, and moments of great sorrow and sadness, like funerals, and moments of difficulty and grief. And clergy are invited to accompany people on these occasions and bring a word of light or meaning into the moment. So there's great privileges in being a clergy, and I think that's the point we ought to try and note, rather than the ultimate cost that does come to some Christians in other parts of the world. If we were to think about the cost, I think that the cost might be something borne by Christ. When you look at the material he's got to work with, me and you and other clergy, we're all very human, we're all a little bit fragile, at times we can be vulnerable, we're not brilliant people, and Christ has simply got you and I to work with. So if there's any cost borne, it might be by him rather than by us. There's a great poem by a lady called Ursula Ashcombe Fanthorpe, better known as U.A. Fanthorpe, and she brings out the sense in which Christ has a cost to bear, and that's the human material he is working with. And in this poem, Jesus is imagining his disciples, his apostles, whom he has called into leadership position. And he goes on to ruminate on the very human, very dear, but also very dense material that he's got. So I hope you enjoy the poem and give you something to meditate on as you think about your own call. It's called Getting It Across by U.A. Fanthorpe, and it goes like this. This is the hard thing, not being God, the Son of Man. I was born for that part. But patiently incising on these yokel faces, mystified, bored and mortal, the vital mnemonics they never remember. There is enough of man in my God for me to construe their frowns. I feel the jaw-cracking yawns they try to hide when out I come with one of my old chestnuts. Christ, not that bloody sower again, they are saying, or God, not the prodigal effing son, give us a new one for Messiah's sake. They know my unknowable parables, as well as each other's shaggy dog stories. I say, there was this Samaritan, this Philistine, and this Roman. Or, what did the high priest say to the belly dancer? All they need is the cue for laughs. My sheep and goats, virgins, pigs, fig trees, loaves and lepers confuse them. Fishing, whether for fish or men, has unfitted them for analogy. Yet these are my mouths. Through them only can I speak with Augustine, Aquinas, Martin, Paul, Regius professors of divinity, and you. How can I cram the sense of heaven's kingdom into our pidgin Aramaic quayside jargon? I envy Moses, who could choose the diuturnity of stone for waymarks between man and me. He broke the tablets, of course. I too know the easy messages are the ones not worth transmitting. But he could at least carve. The prophets too, however luckless their lives and instructions, inscribed on wood, papyrus, walls, their jaundiced oracles. I alone must write on flesh. Not even the congenial face of my Baptist cousin, my crooked affinity Judas, who understands, men who would give me accurately to the unborn as if I was something simple like bread. But Pete, with his headband stuffed full of fishhooks, his gift for rushing in where angels wouldn't. Tom, for whom metaphor is anathema. And James and John, who want the room at the top. These numbskulls are my medium. I called them. I am tattooing God on their makeshift lives, my keystone cops of disciples, always running absurdly away, or lying ineptly, cutting off ears and falling into the water. These Sancho Panzas must tread my chaotic life, dying ridiculous and undignified, flayed and stoned and crucified upside down. They are the dear, the human, the dense, for whom my message is, that might, had I not touched them, have died decent, respectable, upright deaths in bed. So it's a great poem, and it's a great reminder that while it's highly unlikely that we are ever going to have to pay the ultimate cost of following Christ, there's a great privilege to following Jesus as an ordained person, great privilege indeed. And if there is any cost to bear, it's from Christ. And he has to bear you and me with all our fragility and vulnerability and flaws in our character and so on. And that knowledge should keep us extremely humble throughout the whole process of our ordained lives, and perhaps too with a touch of slight repentance.